Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to today's Crypto Blast with myself and Cam O'Connor from Institutional Fi. As usual, Cam will be providing you with a rapid roundup of the latest pricing flows and market moving news in crypto markets. But before he does, I will get the legals out the way. So, as usual, nothing discussed in this Spaces session constitutes trader or investment advice or infers any kind of endorsement by PIQ or indeed Institutional Fi or indeed myself, Mr. Ryan Paisley, or indeed Mr. Cam O'Connor. And also, as we've said multiple times before, if you are listening to anyone do a Spaces event and you decide to make investment decisions based off of that, you probably need to have your head seen to. But anyway, that's enough about us. Cam, how are you doing?
I concur. I concur. Happy Thursday. How are you doing, Ryan?
Do you know what? I'm glorious. Outside broadcast at the moment. I'm just waiting to meet the lads for some lunch. For some PIQ. It's been a team PIQ strategy day at the moment. We're discussing a few different new products that we're bringing to market, which will be really cool. So I'm currently standing outside in some very pink shorts, loving life. And
I
you
was
might
going
be
to
joining
say,
us later, I hear.
yeah, potentially. Um, yeah, have they voted on different type of shorts for you to wear, or
Well, no, no, I nearly got outed from the company, and I don't know how that happened because I'm the majority shareholder. But yeah, it's tough times. But anyway, enough about me and my pink shorts. What's been going on in
we're
crypto?
taking it to the Supreme Court like Trump? We'll touch on that later. Hopefully not with Ryan. That's yeah. Hopefully not with Ryan. Right. Let's jump into the crypto
Yeah,
markets,
please not.
please. No, please. I'm innocent, Judge. I promise. Bitcoin remains in a tight range of around 3.5% over the last week, with support around $83,000. Bitcoin seems to be struggling to break through the $86,000 mark. So we've got a nice little tight support and resistance line. Um, Over the last 7 days. BTC is currently trading around $84,500. Looking across to Ethereum, ETH remains unchanged since yesterday's spaces at around $1,590. Not too much market moving news going on in terms of within the crypto community of things to look out for by the end of this week. We know that obviously it's a long bank holiday weekend with the Easter weekend happening start tomorrow and Monday. So markets are going to be closed, and when those markets are closed, we typically see lower liquidity as well floating around in the crypto space, which can pose high volatility trading areas. So, again, we talk about risk and monitoring risk. uh, Definitely not worth throwing all the cookies into the pot over the weekend. So keep that on your radar. Moving down the market cap list, Solana is currently trading at $132. XRP is at $2.09. BNB is trading at $586. So not too much movement there. Solana's slightly up over the last 24 hours. PAXG, we mentioned yesterday, the stable, not stable coin, the cryptocurrency that is backed by gold and is to mimic the price movements of gold, moved 4.6% after our call yesterday. So I'm not saying that we're responsible for gold reaching new all-time highs, but this happened, and those were the stages of
But
events.
maybe.
Yeah, so Paxton moved higher, 4.6%, has retraced a little bit from yesterday's highs, but yeah, it's holding steady. Um, Bitcoin and Ethereum spot ETF flows for the 16th of April. This was yesterday. Bitcoin saw quite a large outflow of $171 million yesterday, and Ethereum saw a modest $12.1 million on a net basis flow out of their ETF products. Moving on to news that has happened over the last 24 hours that you may have missed. Um, Keeping on the ETF note, VanEck announced its on-chain economy ETF with the ticker, which is an absolute brilliant ticker for the crypto space, Node, Node. Brilliant, brilliant ticker name. I'm surprised no one had taken that before.
Do you know what? That's one of those that you're like. It's like when you see someone find a URL that's only like 4 letters long. You're like, "Fuck! Why didn't I think of that?"
Exactly.
Yeah, no. I guess potentially if they may be sitting on this one for a time, but yeah, because otherwise that does seem about a bit too good that no one else has picked it up. But anyway,
Yeah, I would imagine they've had it in the works for a while, but it's potentially going to be the target launch day is May 14th. So Missed a trick with May the 4th because that would have just been hitting loads of different pockets and left, right, and centre. But anyway, what it is an actively managed ETF. They aim to hold around 30 to 60 names from around 130 plus stock universes tied to digital assets economies. This is going to be exchanges, miners, data centers, energy infrastructure, semis and hardware, TradFi rails, consumer and gaming and asset managers, balance sheet holders, and up to around 25% in crypto ETPs. So it's a really well balanced ETF across multiple sectors. It's going to be really interesting to see how this one's performed. Vanek, I forgot his last name. That's really terrible of me considering he's just reposted one of my Matthew Siegel, that's it. He's going to be managing the fund himself. So if you're not giving Matthew Siegel a little follow, definitely worth it. He pops out some incredible on-chain and off-chain analysis on the world of digital assets. And with a TradFi background, he's got a unique insight, which especially for when looking for people to follow and gauge information from. I really do love the balance of traditional finance and then looking at the decentralized finance world, because a lot of people
Sounds like the
go on.
sorry, it sounds like the type of person that we need to get on for you to interview.
Exactly. So, as he's kind of reached out today, we'll make set the groundwork going and see if we can get a little conversation going with him. So, moving out of the ETF news, Quantum Firm Project 11 to offer one BTC, so around $84,000, to anyone who cracks Bitcoin's encryption. I thought this headline was a bit quite interesting because if they could crack the encryption, obviously this is very, very illegal, but they could steal a lot more than just one BTC. But anyway, it's always a bit odd, that one. Moving away from that topic and hacking, Ethereum's dominance is under
Yeah,
threat.
quick, quick,
Yeah,
quick.
very quickly, let's shift gears. Binance research says that Ethereum's dominance is under threat from BNB Chain and Solana as they're gaining ground and taking away dominance from Ethereum.
Whose research is this?
Okay,
Sorry.
Binance research.
Oh, okay, yeah. So talking their own book.
Well, exactly. I was going to say there's not bias in there at all. But we can see this quite clearly. Ethereum's been lacking its dominance over the last 18 months, and especially, well, compare anything to BTC, but if you compare Ethereum to BNB Chain, Ethereum to Solana, its dominance has been very, very weak. And is struggling, especially as it's been cheaper and quicker for degenerates to trade on other chains. That doing that on BNB, they're doing that on Solana. Ethereum was
Did
go
you
on.
just call them anyone doing that
I did,
degenerates?
and you can quote me on that.
Okay, fair enough.
um, we've all been there, so yeah. Right, yeah. Moving on from that one, we'll move away from Binance's unbiased research. An interesting story, R2, a yield-bearing stablecoin protocol powered by RWA, which is real-world assets, has officially launched its testnet. Users can mint R2 USD, the stablecoin, stake to earn yield, and participate in Galaxy and Interact quests to earn testnet points. R2's underlying asset includes on-chain tokenized US treasuries, compliant money market fund strategies, and real estate rental income. The mainnet is expected to launch in Q2 of this year. In an interesting story, which I'll add some further commentary on after, Binance CEO Richard Teng said, under President Trump's leadership, the US has adopted a more crypto-friendly stance, including plans to establish a digital asset regulatory framework and national reserve. Binance has engaged with many countries, assisting some in building national strategic digital asset reserves. No doubt trying to put their 2 pence forward with the publicity front after meeting with President Trump just a couple of days ago. Whether that's a hint or not that Binance are going to be helping the US set up their Bitcoin strategic reserve in the US, I'm not sure. But again, he's
They
definitely
seem to be making this kind of ties in with potentially that was Binance you said, right?
yes.
Before I make an idiot of myself. So obviously we do know that obviously CZ making moves with Pakistan, and so maybe this is kind of a new strategy that they're trying to get in with the governments in this. Also, I suppose we should tie back in with what we heard last week, which we brought up on the show, which was that obviously, as we know, CZ, a convicted felon, is basically trying to beg Trump for a pardon, and gets the SEC, Jesus, and the Treasury to stop looking into Binance. In return, they'll list a Trump-linked stablecoin. So, is this another way of another reason why, or another way, sorry, of CZ and Binance trying to get in the good books of U.S. government?
I think it could be, and yeah, World Liberty Finance had a little bit of an announcement yesterday as well, as they brought in a new World Liberty financial advisor from Pakistan. So it's quite an interesting. I'm not sure whether they're related or not, but there's quite a lot going on between Binance,
Mate,
their
mate,
board, US, and go on.
not everyone in Pakistan is related. That's
No,
very racist of you.
let's make that clear. That's not the assumption I was going for. I'm not sure if that one needs to be in the T's and C's at the start of the spaces. Um, yeah. Anyway, I've been a foreigner in other countries. I do get asked that question, so there we go. I think that's international. Let's go. Let's move on quite quickly. According to Bloomberg, Bloomberg's Michael Novogratz, Galaxy Ventures Fund LP has exceeded its initial $150 million fundraising target and is expected to close by the end of June with around $180 million. The fund, I can't even speak, the fund focuses on early stage startups with a particular emphasis on payments and stablecoins. Maybe PIQ is going to start, jumping into the world of payments and stablecoins, and there's a little bit of 150 mil waiting for them.
Well, mate, I tell you what, we are in the middle of a funding round, so anything's possible.
There we go. It's not strictly to it, so there we go. You throw the name in the hat and then see what sticks. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said yesterday that in the coming months, tariffs and policy changes, including in trade, immigration, physical and regulatory areas, could increase inflation and restrain growth, with their effects remaining uncertain. He also noted that crypto is becoming more mainstream, making the establishment of a legal framework for stablecoins a sensible move. Bank regulation related to crypto is expected to partially be relaxed. Powell stated that the Federal Reserve will continue to carry out its responsibilities independently, emphasizing that its independence is a matter of law. He also rejected the notion of the Fed put and reaffirmed that the Fed stands ready to provide dollar liquidity to foreign central banks through swap lines if needed. Thought I'd add that one in there because he did directly talk about digital assets, stable coins, and the banking infrastructure being more relaxed in terms of banking the non-banked and getting online. So a few different stories there, but then we had the post from Trump's Truth Social account, with him very much hinting that he's looking forward to the termination of Jerome Powell, saying that he's waiting too long and too
Yeah.
late to cut. Yeah, this is kind of just follows on. I don't know how deep you want to get into this, but there was obviously the filing to the Supreme Court to potentially remove him from being the chair of the Fed. So I don't know if Trump's saying that he's expecting to terminate his career, or if he's simply can't wait till, is it the end of 2026 when his term's up?
Yeah, I think this is good for headlines, and I think it's good to Trump's drumming it up for his own base. I genuinely don't think anything's going to come of it.
No.
But it's like I said, it's good for some headlines. Um, yeah, it's there's enough going on. I don't think Trump would go this way. But again, positioning himself at odds with the Fed, again, he loves polarizing, right? So it forces people to make a decision, and for his base, it's incredibly well thought out because it will just, will kind of strengthen the base that he's already got, and anyone that's not a fan of the Fed, because they would like to see rates cut. Most people want rates cut purely, for personal reasons. Be that their 401ks, obviously extra money going into stocks, or just in general for mortgages and whatnot, if they're not fixed or if they're looking to buy new houses or whatnot. As we know, cheaper rates, possibly even QE. It's all money into the system, which is great, but you can't carry on doing it. So yeah, I just think it's a very much politically, well, it's obviously politically motivated, but I just think it's just pure political bluster.
Interesting. Yeah, I suppose it's one of those wait and see what happens. So kind of keeping in line with the Trump family, the US dollar stablecoin USD1 of the Trump family's crypto project World Liberty Finance has issued more than 113 million USD1 on BNB chain, accounting for nearly 90% of the circulation. USD1 has been included in the stablecoin zero gas fee activity on BNB chain. This is going to be following up from a story that we had yesterday. The Chinese government sold 15,000 bitcoins worth around $1.2 billion through private entities. This story is according, again, from Reuters. This information is completely false. The original Reuters report stated that a Shenzhen company had helped Chinese local government sell around $400 million worth of cryptocurrencies since 2018, and that Chinese local government still held around 15,000 bitcoins at the end of last year. Yeah, an interesting. It didn't say anything further on from 2025, and the original Reuters report didn't specify what year they were talking about. So I thought, as there were like a rebuttal to that news story yesterday, we'll bring it up today and say, well, actually, there has been a counteract to this, but no further dates or proof has actually been provided. So we'll have a little look on that, and I'm no doubt we'll have a little look on chain to see if we can track any of those verified wallets through the seizures to see if this Bitcoin has actually been moved, and if so, how much. So following on, ENS core developer Nick.eth was targeted yesterday in a highly sophisticated phishing attack that exploited two unresolved Google infrastructure vulnerabilities. The attack bypassed DKIM verification and Gmail security warnings. They were able to pose as a legitimate Google alert, and then they used Google Sites. Attackers built a fake support page to steal user credentials. So be on the lookout. Be on the lookout. Obviously, Nick, especially if you know Nick.eth, very, very sophisticated, intelligent man. He would be able to spot out one of these scams, but obviously this one was very, very detailed. So just stay vigilant, especially if you're using online wallets and that you're connected, these to your browsers as browser extensions. Just be really careful on anything that you click, and double, triple check before interacting with any warning or alert or link. As a rule of thumb, if I have a device which has a wallet on there, I will not click links. I just won't do it. Just for my own safety. And it's definitely worth reiterating, because even these long-term professionals who are well versed in these attacks can be fooled and unfortunately get scammed as well. So a little bit of a warning there. One of our final stories, according to Miner Magazine, public Bitcoin mining companies increased their Bitcoin sales in March, recording to their highest monthly liquidation rate since October 24. 15 public miners sold more than 40% of their total Bitcoin production, reversing the recent trend of hoarding. Hive, Bitfarms, Iconic Digital have sold more than 100% of their March production of Bitcoin. So yeah, it looks like these Bitcoin miners are starting to sell. That there was the HODL strategy that they would have been adopting over the last year. Now from March, that looks like they've changed that, which makes sense again with us talking about yesterday that it's now a year since the Bitcoin halving, and this is typically when we start to see a lot more activity moving as typically we used to see this is when this price of Bitcoin started to jump on the increase. That changed last year when Bitcoin reached a new all-time high just leading up to the halving, so that inflated their general roadmaps for these Bitcoin miners. But again, these Bitcoin miners are starting to sell their BTC holdings. So keep on the lookout on that, especially if you are invested in these Bitcoin miners. Lastly, our last story of the day, stablecoin transactions outpaced Visa payments for the first time in the history in 2024. A real massive surge on the stablecoin transactions, of course, they can compete with the basically 0% fees for the most part. So there's no doubt that this payment rail is increasing and gaining traction. Visa charge quite a hefty fee, so comparatively. So yeah, be interesting to kind of track this through the next year. But I believe that is around it for me today. I know we've got lots of listeners from all over the place. So yeah, I hope you have a lovely long weekend.
Yeah,
And yeah,
indeed,
thank you for
exactly that.
joining in. And
Exactly
thank you,
that. Well,
Ryan, for
Cam,
hosting.
thank you as always for bringing your insight, crypto with a tie on, which I appreciate. As Cam said, listeners, we really appreciate you. We know a load of you play this back. Well, the vast, huge majority of you play this back after it's been recorded live. So, hello from the past. And as Cam said, if you are making the most of a long weekend, the Christmas, fucking hell, Easter break, have a great one. Stay safe, and we'll catch you on Tuesday, I believe.
See you then.